I'm Stephen John Drew from the official GonnaGeek.com show, a weekly geek news podcast that is a part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other awesome geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Stand by for a brand new episode of All Things Good and Nerdy.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 438 of the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast / show / webcast / whatever you want to call us. This is recorded live on Sunday, March 7th, 2021. I am Chris. We do not have the full crew here today, though. We did mention that to you last week. One, Mr. Willie D. Nelson is away on vacation this week, so we could cut to him, but there's nothing there. So cutting to Willie is kind of pointless. But I can cut to my good friend, Mr. Anthony Bachman, who's here.
Try the soup. Those that know will know.
I thought we were trying to make some reference to Willie here that I wasn't getting, I'll be honest.
No, it's Coming to America.
See, I've only ever watched it once, and it's been many, many years.
Just taste the soup. Well, is the soup too cold? Is the soup too hot? You want to taste the soup? I'll taste the soup. Where's the spoon? Fucking Eddie Murphy as an old Jewish white guy is one of my favorite things in the world. And all the characters in the barbershop are motherfucking back and coming to America, which is all you really need to know about whether or not you should watch it. All the barbershop guys are back, so of course you should watch it.
That's Amazon Prime exclusive, correct? So if you have Prime Video, you can get it.
And yeah, if you turn on Amazon Prime right now, basically the front homepage is Eddie Murphy Coming to America. It's the banner is Coming to America. All the little videos are Coming to America. They're making of Coming to America. It's the original Coming to America. It's shit about Coming to America. It's the Coming to America page right now. It's awesome.
So did Amazon actually do this one, or was it another studio that did and Amazon bought the rights to it? I haven't really paid a ton of attention.
Yeah, because I did watch like the first half of it. It does start out as presented by Amazon Studios.
Okay.
So, yeah, Amazon put money into this. So yeah, Amazon threw some money at Eddie Murphy along with whoever the actual who's the screenwriter. Because it's based on Eddie's characters, but Barry W. Blaustein is actually written for the story credit or story by, and then 5 more people are credited. David Sheffield, Justin Canoe. And then 3 people on the screenplay are David Sheffield, Barry W. Blaustein, and Kenya Barris.
Okay.
So let me see.
I mean, that was a legit question, though, because due to the nature of the pandemic and things like that, I'm sure there are other instances of streaming services, and we've seen it, trying to just buy the rights to a movie to put it on their streaming service right now because of the unknown future of when you'll be able to go to a movie theater and see these things.
Indeed. And yeah, so 2 of them are writers that worked on Nutty Professor, Boomerang, Coming to America. So Barry Blaustein and David Sheffield apparently have both worked with Eddie on a bunch of different films. And then Kenya Barris, now that I see the picture of him, I recognize it. Yeah, he's the actor from Blackish. So he's been on Blackish, Girls Trip, Black as Fuck, Grownish. So,
Nice.
yeah, so that's the new guy joining the mix on the writers and the screenplay. Yeah, so Eddie didn't write the story this time, but I'm assuming he had probably a lot of input because it's fucking Eddie Murphy.
And how much did they ad-lib on set and stuff like that, too?
Exactly.
I mean, I imagine there was a fair deal of riffing going on.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to figure also, I mean, with the amount of comedians they had on set, how much of it was actually written down in the script and how much of it was them fucking around, trying to get Eddie to laugh. Because let's be honest, I got to figure anybody on that set, especially these days, your only goal is to get Eddie Murphy to laugh.
True.
If you can get that Eddie laugh, you're doing good.
Well, I did see they got James Earl Jones back too, which
Yes.
I was not sure if he'd come back because he's in his mid-80s now, so he's probably just like, I'm happy to be semi-retired.
Well, and I'll be honest, the scene he does, he's semi-retired in the scenes too. They ain't even much walking around. Like they give him like the coziest position you could have in a movie. The majority of his scenes is done from a bed. He's literally laid in a giant kingly bed, and he's got like just a little bit of white hair on top of his head. Like there's no, you can tell James Earl Jones has gotten up there a little bit. There's also his voice has a cameo in the movie. I'll just say that. And when you hear it, it's fucking fantastic because it's a perfectly fitting thing. And yeah, there's some great guest stars in the very early part of the film. And then some new bigger names pop up. Like if you wanted your life narrated, who would you ask to do it? If you had to have a news anchor from an African country on there, who would you have do that now? Like there's a couple of pretty cool cameos I've already seen. So
to narrate my life, Robert Downey Jr. could be fun. James Earl Jones, of course, is a standby that everyone would probably say because his voice is so distinctive.
Morgan Freeman. They use his for something else.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman. I had to work my way down the path to what would be another great.
Why they call you Red?
Voice.
Probably because I'm Irish. Yeah, no. If you're gonna have somebody narrate your life, it's Morgan Freeman. Freeman. Morgan Freeman shows up in Zamunda.
I don't know, man. It'd be pretty fun if George Carlin narrated your life.
That would be the one for me. Yeah, I mean, I love Morgan Freeman, but yeah, I think Georgie Boy would be like the top of my list.
George Carlin narrating your life story would be pretty freaking hilarious.
It's funny too because I was thinking about it, like going back to '88, like when they first did this movie, and Eddie Murphy created the country of Zamunda. And created basically a paradise country that was a fantasy country in Africa. It really was like the first like public version of like a Wakanda, of like a fantasy country in Africa that like wasn't war torn. All the people like were happy living the good life. And I'm just thinking, it's like, how have I not seen a T-shirt yet of like either Prince or King Akeem saying Zamunda forever. Like I'm surprised I haven't seen that image yet.
Well, now that you've mentioned it, there'll probably be like 6 different variants of it up on Teespring or something like that later this afternoon.
I'm assuming we'll get them this week. But yeah, it's like as we were watching it last night, I was like, how have I not seen Zamunda forever? Like like that. Someone has to make that connection like real fast. Like
it's probably
I can't believe I haven't seen it. The list of, I mean, if you want to be spoiled, go look at the list of just the people that are in this movie. And just like the original, like they went around Hollywood, got basically probably everybody that might want to work with Eddie Murphy that were probably actually pounding down the door to get in on this film. And yeah, like there's some awesome, cameos just like in the original. And yeah, there's some good shit. Yeah, I've only watched like the first half of it, but it is super funny. And yeah, I mean, and John Landis directed. There's a segment from John Landis' original movie in this one, so he gets a directing credit, even though Craig Brewer directed this one.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so you still have technically John Landis directed film because when they do flashbacks in this movie, and it's weird. I will tell you this: there's a flashback from the original nightclub scene in the movie where it's just direct video from the movie that I had just watched. So like I know it's the exact same video, but then they cut to an additional sequence. And they did the weird ass CGI faces of young Arsenio and Eddie over 2 other actors, and in about half of it looks good. But there's like 2 or 3 scenes where they're turning their heads and it looks deep fake and like you can see like it's not meshing right, and it just looks weird. But it's like it's a fucking comedy. Like don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's tough to do, but for a comedy, I think you can be a bit more forgiving.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, it's scenes of idiots when they were young in a nightclub doing stupid shit. But yeah. It's a super fun movie. Like I'm excited to watch the rest of it because it was just way fucking late last night and we had already watched the originals. Like it's been a long goddamn night. Oh, I'm tired.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and yeah, the original has the first time that Sam Jackson said "fucker" on screen. It wasn't motherfucker. It was just fucker. He hadn't grown into his full motherfucker yet.
It's okay. He's there now, though.
Yes,
he's quite strong with the MFers.
Samuel L. Jackson. The L stands for badass motherfucker.
Well, I mean, we've told the story before. That was actually inscribed on his lightsaber as Mace Windu. BMF was inscribed on
it. Of course it was.
Which I think is pretty great.
What I also think is awesome is that Nightcrawler's acronym, I mean, not acronym, but his sound effect when he teleports is BAMF.
Yeah.
Badass motherfucker.
So if you were here for the pre-show, folks, you did hear us mention that Willie's on vacation. We did introduce that to start the show. I bring that up because we have been teasing it for a couple weeks now. Next week,
when is Willie on the beach?
Nobody wants to see Willie on the beach. Nobody. And let's be honest, Willie's probably not on the beach. He's probably like in the house playing video games with people and consuming beverages of the adult variety because it's a house party.
Yep.
That being
So
said,
hopefully he lives through the weekend.
that's what we're hoping for. He will be back next week, assuming he lives through the whole experience. Why I bring that up is we've teased it for a couple weeks now. It is the return of Unprotected Advice with Willie Nelson. It is arguably one of the more popular bits we've done because people actually ask us to bring it back, as opposed to for other bits where people ask us never to bring them back. So we are bringing back Unprotected Advice. We have gotten one submission through on Discord where a person DM'd me directly. We'll keep their screen name out of things to maintain anonymity. If you have suggestions for things for us to cover in Unprotected Advice, or you have something you want Willie's advice on, please feel free to send it to me via Twitter message or DM. You can find me at the Chris Farrell on Twitter, or you can go on over to GonnaGeek.com/Discord and go to the All Things Good and Nerdy channel and post it in there. If for some reason you want to remain anonymous, and that's fine too, you can DM it to me directly or just make a burner account to send it to me on one of those things, I guess, too. It's whatever works for you guys. Regardless, we are bringing back Unprotected Advice next week, and Willie will give you his unfiltered personal advice based off things that have gone on in life. And we like to joke and have fun here, but Willie does take this bit pretty seriously. He'll make some jokes about the situation or something like that, but I will give him credit. His advice is serious. He may crack a joke while making said advice, but the advice he gives people is legit, not just for gags. So it's kind of a fun segment.
Yeah, it is weird that it's the one thing he takes serious.
Willie has to be the straight man for once, is what happens here. The rest of the time, he's here making all the gags, trying to get us off track. In this segment, you and I try and get him off track, and he does pretty good staying on track with that. So next week, the return of Unprotected Advice with Willie D. Nelson. But before we get to that, and before we get to the news, we should probably address the television elephant in the room, which is, hey, WandaVision ended this week. And I don't know if we want to go full spoiler or not, but I will say this. I'm kind of annoyed by some of the folks that then went online after it came out. And like, oh, I'm so pissed we didn't get resolution on such and such and such and such and such and such. And I'm like, but you were never promised it. I mean, we as fans had a lot of fun coming up with these what-if scenarios. Here's what these things mean. And theorizing. And I think theorizing is really fun. But the trade-off to theorizing is what some people are realizing now, is that if you come up with these grandiose, great ideas of what could happen, and that's not what happens, then you end up feeling disappointed. Mm-hmm. And I think some people are feeling a little burned by that at the end of WandaVision. Personally, I'm not. I was fine if all of my grand theories didn't come to fruition, and I think almost all of them didn't. But I still had fun. I still think it told a good story about grief and how to overcome grief eventually, or at least acknowledge your own grief and move on.
Yeah, no, it was solid. I think it was solid storytelling, damn good acting, some cool special effects. I mean, it's not on par with an MCU movie, but it's not a movie. It's a TV show. And so, like, we got episodic television told in an episodic way for a very specific story version, or a story reasoning. Like, the story made sense of why it was told as a television story. Probably better than any story we're going to get as a series on Disney Plus. Like them having, Wanda's dad sneaking in, DVDs of, sitcoms from America. And then, like, that's where her subconscious goes to for her happy place when she thinks of her family. Like, it fucking played out extremely well. The writing was super solid.
I also enjoyed some of the sarcastic Twitter comments that I saw where people were legitimately upset about the fact that the Dick Van Dyke DVD box set wouldn't have been out in 1999 when the scenes in Sokovia were portrayed. And they go, but this is a world where Captain America exists.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we could let go of the fact that in our world it took 2 years longer.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. The release date on a DVD was wrong, but you're fine with the gamma irradiated scientists that can knock down buildings. That makes sense?
I mean,
yeah.
I
settle down, people. It's comic books.
I fully admit I'd be someone that would notice that and I'd have a laugh about it, but I wouldn't actually be butthurt about it like some people were. There were some people that were legitimately like, oh, this is an oversight by Marvel. How could they do that? I'm like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I don't think that would count as an oversight. It was literally like, hey, these are the shows we want to reference. These are the shows we're going to show.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was part of the storyline. It worked. There was no reason, to be that, like, nitpicky.
Well, I guess we can go light spoilers here. I did enjoy the fact that Paul Bettany had been teasing the fact he gets to work with an actor that he'd always been wanting to work with before, and we find out it's himself. And I was like, okay, that's really funny. I've kind of expected that, but I wanted it to be something different just because it would be fun. But I still had no problem with it. And then you sort of get his mindset, because I guess I saw he did some interviews after this last episode went out about how he was having a hard time with this scene where he's basically himself talking to himself. And he goes, I normally don't struggle with dialogue and things like that. He goes, I just couldn't get myself in the mindset. And he goes, then he realized I have to put myself in the mindset of one of these visions at a time. So he would only be one vision at a time versus trying to memorize all of the script for that entire scene. He would memorize it as, say, the WandaVision vision, and then he would do it as the original vision and do it that way. And he's like, and then it started to make sense to me. He goes, I just couldn't wrap my head around trying to be both of those visions at the same time. And I'm paraphrasing here. He's much better at saying these
I would
things.
think, trying to do both at the same time as an actor would be almost impossible, because they're very different, very, very different versions of the same character.
And
because, I mean, it's Vision and Vision, but it's the vision that Wanda created out of her heart of the guy she remembered and loved. And the other one is literally at the start of the scene, an android with no memories.
Mhm.
So that's on an attack mission, which, and for those that have seen the meme and don't know what the hashtag is, Ship of Theseus is the logical argument that the two visions have, which I love that. This, you have the giant brawl to save them all. It's the big fight at the end of the superhero movie. Okay, so Wanda's taking on Agatha, and they're just, bitch slapping each other with magic across town. And at first, the two visions are doing the same thing, using their density and intangibility and blasting each other through walls and buildings and shit. And then it comes down to a logical argument because it's Vision, because he's a fucking AI,
which makes perfect
because
sense.
it's two computers arguing. And he's like, oh, my vision or my mission's parameter is to kill the Vision. He's like, well, we have a logical problem in it. And then they talk it out, and they do the Ship of Theseus statement, which is awesome. Which, for those that don't know, it's the idea that if the Ship of Theseus was in a museum, and as every floorboard rots out, you replace it, eventually you replace all the floorboards with new wood. And so is the ship that's still in the museum still the Ship of Theseus? Or if you take those old rotten floorboards and put them in a new ship along a new keel and rebuild a brand new ship, is that also now the Ship of Theseus? If you replace the boards one at a time. And it's a great logical argument. And the fact that it's two androids having the logical argument to figure out who is who and who's the real Vision is fucking fantastic.
Well, and I can't wait to see, because this is next week we get their version of Disney Gallery that they did for Mandalorian. They're also doing for WandaVision. That drops this upcoming week, I believe.
The scenes.
And I think the behind the scenes of how they did this scene of the two Visions fighting and then having Paul Bettany do his lines back and forth between them could be fascinating to see how they pulled that off. Because from what I had read in his interview, it was, okay, I'm going to do the cuts today as original Vision, so my stuntman's going to be in the other makeup, so that there's at least a body there that I'm facing. And they would do the far off stuff, and all the close-ups would be Bettany, and depending on which Vision he was dressed as that day.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I would think it would be hard as hell as an actor to get into the mindset of both those characters at the same time. Like, how the hell could you do that?
Yeah.
Like, that'd be difficult.
The way he described it, though, in this interview, you kind of get where he was coming from, tongue-in-cheek when he said it, but getting to act with someone he'd always wanted to. I mean, he's literally acting against himself.
Yeah,
right
which
here.
Is something most actors don't get to do.
Yeah, and trying to split these two personalities and pull it off. And the way Paul Bettany does it, I think it's quite enjoyable. And I like the shift you see in White Vision after something happens. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And the character changes, and then the way Bettany handles it, the words are far less clipped, things like that. There's actually almost emotion in his voice versus just monotone robotic. It's really well done. And I guess here's your spoiler on this. I'm really glad that they've left the door open for Paul Bettany to continue doing work in the MCU.
Yeah. But I mean, they did so much with the resolution of the show that I was actually really happy with it. Like, it's an almost hour-long finale. Like, they put in a whole lot of story, the whole fight scene, and then you get resolution with what happens with Wanda and the West, whatever the fuck town is.
Westview.
But Westview. It was solid writing. It was entertaining. I don't know why. I mean, people bitch because people bitch on the internet, but there's really nothing to bitch about. Like, this was really well done. It moves the MCU forward. It was good storytelling, and hell, she finally got a costume and her code name.
Yeah, the costume is pretty cool.
She technically has the longest origin story of any character in the MCU because it took 5 movies and 9 episodes
Well,
before she got a code name.
Vision might have the longest one because he starts as
Oh,
Jarvis. And then...
Yeah, if you consider his origin as Jarvis, as the natural language
Yeah.
UI. I don't know, but still, she had 9 TV shows on top of like
That's
the
true.
5 movies she was in first. So
That's
yeah,
true.
they both had some really long fucking origin stories. Where Iron Man was, in and out of the cave in the first 45 minutes of his first movie.
So Draftsman brought up a comment in the chat room I think is good for us to bring up in context of this WandaVision discussion. He said, you guys are skipping one huge element about WandaVision. The fact that the show addresses the almost radioactive power of the American TV culture has on world culture. I watched Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, and Malcolm in the Middle. I lost my place there. Once I got to the US, and all of those beats and jokes land because of TV and reruns are part of world culture. Yeah?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, American television, it has an effect on the world, good and bad. Because like you said, Draftsman talking about the jokes like this land, but I also know that I can't remember where it was. There was some Polynesian island, and they did a bunch of psychological studies and stuff, and it was an island that they didn't get any Western culture from us until the late, I want to say it was the 1960s. And up until the 1960s, there were 0 cases of anybody having bulimia or any type of weight disorders in their country until they started getting American magazines and television.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all of the girls don't look like the girls in the photos, and they all started feeling bad about themselves. So yeah, there are pluses and minuses to Western culture influencing a country. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely something where, yeah, I mean, this show, it was built as a show around the concept of television. And it uses that concept really well in the storytelling model that it does with this series. It's people are like, oh, it was a really long movie. No, this was not a movie. If this had been 9 straight hours that you could watch in a row, if you could have binged this the first day, it would have sucked. It would not have worked as well without the downtime.
See, and I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see fleshed out. Is one of the guys I work with had purposely said, I'm not watching until they're all out. I don't want to go week to week. And myself and another coworker were watching week to week. So I'm really curious on Monday in our little group chat that we have, since we're all teleworking, to be like, hey, what did you think of WandaVision? And to see how that differs, because he watched it all basically in one block, whereas the rest of us did it over 9 weeks, to see if that colors his opinion a little differently on what he thinks about the show, or if he's like, oh, I think such and such went too long, because to us it may not have felt like the first 3 episodes went too long because they're split out over a week where we're fully immersed in the sitcom, whereas to him that's an hour and 20 minutes basically of, okay, I'm stuck in sitcom world right here, I don't know if I really care for this. It'll be interesting.
I mean, he also, I didn't look up the run times when I was watching the episodes except the last one. And so it was one of those things where you'd be watching it and all of a sudden 28 minutes in it would end. You're like, wait, whoa, fuck, that was a short one.
Yep.
And then the next one would be 48 minutes. You're like, oh, okay, that was a much longer episode. So yeah, but if he's sitting down to watch almost, roughly 9 hours of the show, he knows how long it's going to be. He's not going to get those abrupt kind of endings that I think they were kind of startling as I was watching the show week to week.
In times, yeah. And this also is kind of interesting to look at here now, as we know that COVID caused Marvel to shuffle their schedules around, things like that. If you go and look at the original schedule, it was supposed to be WandaVision, then we'd get a couple weeks break, then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So this fed, I mean, you can tell as you watch this, it feeds directly into it. But now we've got a year long where you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Whereas it would have been interesting from a fan perspective, like, oh, cool, this series just wrapped, it feeds into the movie. Oh, I got to wait 2-3 weeks or whatever until the movie takes place.
Because I mean, technically we could see one character go off screen in the series and then come on screen in the movie, and it would flow very well.
I mean, it's still going to flow, I think,
cool.
But it would have been cool. Because remember, I think it was
if there's no delay.
It was Falcon and Winter Soldier that was supposed to kick off the Disney Plus shows, but they were doing their reshoots in Budapest or Hungary or something like that.
Yeah, wherever they got shut down. Yeah.
So that's why they moved to second in release order.
But let's be honest, we're all just going to watch that show because we want to see Baron von Zemo in the purple mask. That's all it's about.
I want to see Marvel Lethal Weapon.
Well,
that's what we're getting here.
Yeah, it is the buddy cop drama of the Marvel Universe. But I don't know, just the idea that they're actually going to pull off the fucking purple mask. For those that don't know, possibly the worst costume in all of Marvel Comics. And it's going to be on screen. And who's getting it? The guy that actually won. The guy that beat the Avengers. The Human with no superpowers that destroyed the Avengers. Like, Thanos lost. Loki lost. Zemo won, bitches. Like, he accomplished what he wanted. The end of the movie is Tony Stark and and Steve Rogers beating the dog shit out of each other. Like, Zemo won.
Couple more things before we wrap up on this. There's a guy I follow on Twitter. He lives in the UK, big fan of movies in general and things like that. And he had an interesting take on Twitter I wanted to bring up. Someone had said, he quote tweeted this first thing, and here's what he said, what the tweet was that he quoted. Marvel fans, 2018, Infinity War is about dealing with loss. 2019, Endgame is also about dealing with loss. Spider-Man Far From Home, dealing with loss. 2020, Blessed Silence. 2021, WandaVision, it's dealing about loss too. And you sort of get the riff they're going at there. And I would wager the person that did that's probably a Snyder Cut
2020.
Yeah, right? I would argue that this is someone that probably is more liking the DC movies based off the take they're having here. But I liked the quote that Dan had said around it. It goes, easy and oh so edgy to dunk on Marvel and Marvel fans. But within the confines of a superhero story, WandaVision really does deal with the concepts of grief and loss in a mature and accessible way. Given how many responded to it, it might have been more important than you think.
Yeah. Plus, yeah, as it's been known, Disney runs on tears. Yeah. And let's be honest, what makes superheroes? Dead parents.
My parents are dead.
What makes Disney movies? Dead parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about loss. Hell, I mean, you got, the Amazing Fantasy cover behind you. Spider-Man's dead uncle has caused more great storytelling than almost any dead character in comics. Like, yeah, loss is what superheroes are about. It's their loss, most of them, that defines them. Superman lost a planet. Bruce Wayne lost his parents. Fucking, I guess Wonder Woman didn't really lose anything. She just kind of kicks ass. But I mean, yeah, like the main ones, like, Captain America lost 70 years and his girlfriend. Iron Man lost, his belief in the world that he was a good guy selling arms and only good guys used his guns, and then got disillusioned to what was actually happening in the world with his weapons. Like, it's all about loss. Like, superheroes are about loss and how they deal with it. Well, we got SP's going off in the chat room. SP lost Chris on the Starling Tribune. See? That's Stargate Pioneer's origin story, his loss of Chris. I stole your Chris. You can't have him back. What you gonna do about it? You gonna turn into a superhero or a villain, motherfucker?
I don't know. I really enjoyed WandaVision. I know people like to dunk on Marvel, like we talked about, that everything deals with loss. But like you said, superhero movies in general, I mean, it's why almost every Batman movie they have to emphasize or show his parents die.
Yeah, we've seen the Waynes die more than like anybody else. And hell, even in the new Spider-Man films, we're about to get our third Spider-Man with Tom Holland. We never saw Uncle Ben die this time. They also poorly rewrote the line that he's supposed to drop, but I can forgive that because Tom Holland's fucking perfect as Peter Parker. So I can forgive the fact that they fucked up the responsibility line. But yeah, we didn't even get to see this Uncle Ben die, who was apparently supposed to be Martin Sheen this time.
Was it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Martin Sheen was married to Marissa Tomei. Like, how hot is that couple?
Damn.
Yeah.
That would have been fun. I mean, but at the same time, and this is...
see a scene with Tom Holland and Martin Sheen, like, how cool would that have been?
I mean, we've talked this endlessly, though. It was kind of nice with this Spider-Man not to get the Uncle Ben's dead again scene, because we just gotten it in the 2 series before that. So it's kind of nice to be like, we know that it happened. This takes place after that. Spider-Man's sort of dealing with it, and we can move on from there. But if you want,
it was cool because they kind of jumped into it. Wasn't his origin story, even though it was the introduction to him to the MCU. It was we're jumping in past his origin movie. Right. It was almost like we missed it, and now we're waiting for Spider-Man Homeboy.
Right. So we'll put a pin in our discussion on WandaVision here. But if you want more WandaVision talk with people that are going to go full on spoilers and spend probably a good 50, 60 minutes discussing it, if you're watching live on Sunday, March 7th, as we record this, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page on geeks.live. The calendar of the upcoming live events is there, and you can see at 6 p.m. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. You can go watch the new live Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., where they're going to be going through WandaVision, and they're going to spend a lot more time going through it, and they'll probably go more in depth on it because they're far more professional on what they cover there. We just geek out and go, oh my god, and don't have as much research in, and I know they do put a lot more research in. So, excuse me, it's at 4 p.m. today is what Stargate Pioneer says. So 4 p.m. Eastern today on March 7th. So you're a little over 4 hours away. If you want to watch it, head on over to geeks.live, check it out. If you didn't have a chance to catch it live, don't worry. It'll be on YouTube and hitting your podcast feeds soon enough, and you can check it out there. That all being said, I think we've talked WandaVision. We've talked about some other stuff we've been geeking out over. I think we should start rolling on in to the news of the week.
Live from the ATGN studios on the internet, it's the news of the week.
Welcome to the news of the week. It's that part of the show where we run down what in our minds might be some of the most interesting, geeky, and or nerdy news to have popped up here in the last week or so and share it with you guys. And since we're talking Marvel, let's just continue talking Marvel, and I'm going to go with my news story next. Or first, I guess. So I think we talked about this game. Willie enjoyed the single player on it a lot. I think Bachman played like 20 minutes of it and hasn't touched it again. But let's talk about Square Enix's Marvel's Avengers game. It's been out since...
What game? Is that a game?
Yeah, well, some people have forgotten. Some people called it store value brand Avengers because of how the costumes looked and the skins that you have that you get by default.
We can't make them look anything like the actors, so we're going to create new character models that don't look like anybody, so they just look like random Joe Schmo Spirit Town Halloween costumes.
So we should clarify here. Willie really enjoyed the single player. He had a lot of fun with it, he said. Multiplayer has been problematic. We touched on this show that multiplayer matchmaking was difficult because the player amount numbers kind of just dropped off the cliff. They didn't have a ton of people that kept playing it. And this is tough for one of these living online games that's kind of a hybrid looter. It's not really a shooter, but we'll call it a looter shooter action game, which you're supposed to keep playing and grind to get your players to level 50 so that they're spec'd out as high as they can, keep playing to unlock cool equipment, stuff like that. I will say I did buy the game recently when it was on sale on Gamefly's site for I think $15 I bought it for. And I bought it and said, hey, I'm going to hold on to this until the next gen version comes out because they're doing a free upgrade. I believe it drops on March 18th for the Xbox Series line and the PlayStation 5, which will give you the enhanced visuals, things like that. But what is also coming on March 18th that kind of has people scratching their head is they're going to do some level balancing and things like that. And they're going to basically set it up so that a game that's already really grindy to get to level 50 gets even harder to get to level 50. By the time you get to level 25, they're then going to make it harder to gain levels after level 25 because they said if you look at how the progression stats worked, it's pretty much just a straight line across. There was never really having to get more XP the higher your levels went up, so that felt unbalanced, things like that. I don't understand why they're taking a game that is struggling to get people to play it and making it grindier, for lack of a better term. I don't know if that's actually a real word, but that's what we're going to use here. Is they're going to make it so you have to grind even more on a game that people have been dropping like flies on. And I'm sitting there.
Hey, Willie, remember that game I already don't want to play? They're now giving me another reason to not want to play it.
It's kind of frustrating though too. I mean, because I could have started playing this game a month ago when I bought it, but I said, hey, I'm going to wait for the next gen upgrade. So there's probably other people that are in the same boat as me that may not have bought it at launch but held off a little bit, then bought it because they wanted to play it on their new consoles. Well, if you held off to play on the new console, then you get your leveling up slowed a lot. Basically, once you hit level 25, the progression becomes harder and harder.
This could also be something that they instantly take back once they do it.
I don't know, man.
Apex Legends had the same thing. There was a lot of, a vocal majority of the Apex players that are, Twitch streamers that play the game, 5 days a week. There's a battle pass. It's 100 levels. It takes a lot of people 80, 90 days to complete it. So it's, there's a lot of, just doing weekly and daily challenges in the game. But you got these people that, are Twitch streamers. And so the day the battle pass comes out, they buy all 100 levels. So they have the new gun skins and they have the new charms and they have all of that done. And then there's weekly challenges for them to do, but there's nothing for them to progress on. And then those same people would get online and vocally complain to Apex and Respawn, hey, there's nothing for us to do in the game. There's nothing new to work on, because it's been 2 weeks since the Battle Pass came out. We already finished it. And so they actually looked at it, and I think it was 2 seasons ago, season 6, they came out, and the first level of the Battle Pass was a bitch. Like, people were making jokes like, hey, I'd gone online, I got 1,000 kills today. I won over 40 matches. I did 18 knockdowns with a Mozambique, all with Gibraltar, and I'm now on Battle Pass level 2. Because they had made it just way more grindy. It was super hard. Like they changed it from an XP system to a star system where you earn stars for doing certain things. And the whole idea was to make it to where it was more grindy so that the people that, fly through it, it was going to take them longer. And then they got some feedback because the 87% of their actual player base that aren't those, 1,000 people on Twitch, the people that come home, and play it 2 to 3 days a week after work, or maybe only play on Saturdays, went, hey, I can't put the fucking hours in that it's going to take me to get through 100 levels if I have to do 8 hours of playing just to get through one level.
Right.
And so the Respawn looked at those numbers and went, oh shit, we responded to the wrong people. We need to pull this back a little bit. And they basically pulled it back almost exactly to where it was because the original setup was great for everybody. If you choose to buy all the levels, that's on you. If you choose to grind out the game 40 hours a week as your job, hey, you need to figure out ways to make the game interesting to you because that's not the majority of the player base. The majority of the player base was actually fine with the grind as it was because if you played 2 or 3 days a week, you could get it finished. Just like Dead by Daylight with their archive tome. The new one now is perfectly balanced, which I'll talk about that and what we're getting into, where me and the girlfriend are getting the tome levels done basically right before the next one comes out, which is fantastic because in the archive tome for Dead by Daylight, you can't go onto the tier. There's level 1, 2, 3, and 4 in each tome. You can't go to level 2 until it opens. It has a lock timer on it, and so you can't play it ahead of time. Yeah. But the old ones, there was challenges from tome 1 and 2 that I went back and just completed in between archives this time because there were some super hard challenges from before that I never got done just because they were a giant pain in the ass. But yeah, it's trying to find that balancing act. I don't know. The few numbers of players they already have that already aren't playing this game. I mean, their player base is so small. If they instantly see a giant nether drop, maybe they'll revert it. Maybe they'll go, hey, maybe we should make it an easier grind.
So this isn't the best time of day to look on Twitch and get an idea of how popular a game is, but this is when we record, so it's the best way we can look at it. So this is a
Saturday afternoon's not a bad day.
This is a Sunday at noon right now. I pulled up on Twitch Marvel's Avengers because when you stream on Twitch, you tag what game you're playing. There are 158 viewers of Marvel's Avengers right now. The number 1 stream has 61 viewers. The number 2 has 10. So there are not a lot of people streaming Avengers right now.
And to put those numbers in context, there are 98,000 people watching Apex. There are 162,000 people watching Minecraft. There are 42,000 watching Dead by Daylight. And there are 312,000 people in their streams just chatting. Yeah. Not even playing a game, just talking to their audience. So I mean, hell, Valheim's in beta and it has 18,000 viewers.
Yeah, so I don't fully understand what they're going for here. And they did actually go to Reddit, I guess, on Thursday of this last week to try and give some additional insight. And I still don't 100% understand their thinking here. But this article on Polygon says the studio said it's changing the grind because players were often leveling 2 or 3 times during a single mission, even at higher levels, because the XP wasn't scaling well enough, or it was scaling too well, depending on who you asked. In the Reddit post, they said, the problem we were seeing and hearing was that you would immediately get more skill points than you had time to review, apply, and get used to before embarking on the next mission and gaining your next few levels. Hopefully you can see the issue here. But here's where it gets more confusing. As they went on throughout this, and I'll just read the article here on Polygon, perhaps making the point even more confusing, Crystal Dynamics also noted that it is changing early leveling in Marvel's Avengers to be even faster than it already was, which would seem to add confusion over skill points rather than reduce it. According to this, Crystal Dynamics said it hopes the new changes will add 3 to 5 hours to the act of reaching the level cap. 3 to 5 hours on what, 6 characters you have to begin with? And then you unlock 2 additional Hawkeyes with DLC packs.
Yeah.
The PlayStation's going to get a Spider-Man character at some point in time. So you're going to change the leveling so that if someone hadn't done it yet, it's potentially an extra 3 to 5 hours for each of those characters, which would probably be great if you were a streamer and there were a bunch of people who wanted to watch that because you've got something you're going for. But if you're just me, for instance, who wants to sit back and play the game for fun, I look at this and go, oh, there's no way I'm going to keep playing after I finish the campaign. There's absolutely no way, because what's the reward in the grind here? There's no reward in the grind.
Yeah, I mean, there doesn't seem to be a reason for it. That's the problem that gets me. At least with Apex, like, I knew why they were doing it when they made the change to their battle pass. Like, I don't, like, who's out there hollering, hey, Avengers should be more grindy?
I mean, who's out there hollering, oh no, I leveled up too much in the last mission?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever complained about that. Yeah, this is a developer making another bad decision.
I don't know. This is conspiracy theory minded. I don't know if this is just them being able to put the first nail in the coffin to be like, oh, time to start shutting this money sink down because people aren't going to want to keep playing it.
There you go. They're doing a little self-fulfilling prophecy. Hey, if we make the game harder and harder to play, we could eventually turn the servers off when nobody's playing it.
I mean, I don't think that's actually the case. I think this is a case mostly of they put a game out there that they thought was going to be widely popular because it's the GD Avengers. Everyone wants to be a superhero and stuff like that. But when the game came out, it was grindy, it was one-dimensional, and the online part of it wasn't fun. And they're trying to find ways to fix it and make it better. We already know they're behind on stuff because the Spider-Man DLC was supposed to be out for PS4/5 by now. Mm-hmm. I think both the Hawkeye DLCs are out now. I'm not 100% sure. I know Kate Bishop is. I think Clint Barton might be coming with this May 18th update.
Yeah, it's either now or soon. Yeah, because I know I saw a video for it where they showed the actual, like, Clint Barton in-game action sequences.
Well, I mean, if people dissected the code and kind of found out what the upcoming characters were, and it's obvious that Square Enix has huge plans for where they wanted to go with this game. I just don't know if you're going to get there now because of the fact that the players have all dropped off. I mean, we're talking about a game that has been regularly on sale, not pre-owned, but brand new for anywhere between $25 to $35 for the past month or two. That's kind of an indicator that something is not right there. And like I said, I'm going to play the single player. I want to play the campaign. The campaign I don't really necessarily have to grind a bunch for. I'll put it on easy. I'll get through the story, worst case scenario, and they'll go, okay, I'm done with this game. And for the $15 I paid, I'm probably fine with that. But this is just another one of those instances where these online living games, I don't think they quite know what they're doing. And I feel bad for those that were a lot more hyped than I may have been in this one. Like, I played the demo on this and then knew, I ain't playing this anytime soon.
I shouldn't have paid for it when I did. I should have canceled after the demo. I was like, oh, the demo's a little clunky, but they'll fix it. And then, I started the live action game. I was like, oh, wow, it's just as clunky.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Well, you also had Willie whispering in your ear, like, hey, we can play online together, too.
Yeah. It's a clunky motherfucker. And I'll be honest, why would you spend time playing Avengers, even if it's a game I paid for, when Insomniac just give everybody Ratchet and Clank for free?
Right.
Ratchet and Clank is like 7 years old, and it's still one of the greatest games on PlayStation 4.
I did turn my PlayStation back on. It was the first time in God knows when to specifically download that game because it was mad at me because we'd had a power bump. So it had to do its whole, I got to check system memory. Don't forget, you have to turn your PlayStation off this way. And I was like, I didn't turn you off. It was the power bump.
Yeah, I love that fucking warning message. Hey, if you don't turn this off correctly when you have an external hard drive, it could ruin it. So, bitch, the power went out. I didn't turn you off.
You know what?
Don't give me attitude.
My Xbox has been turned off multiple times because of power outages and stuff like that, and I've had 3 different external hard drives plugged into that with no issues ever. That's probably more a legal issue, so that if your hard drive gets corrupted, you can't be like, screw you, Sony, I'm suing.
Yeah. But there's 3 new games in the March store for PlayStation and the PlayStation Network. And if you're not aware, Insomniac, apparently just for the fucking fun of it, and probably to raise a little awareness before the new game comes out, they just did the original Ratchet and Clank for PlayStation 4, put it up in the store for free. So you can download it, have a digital copy of it, and play one of the funnest platformers ever. Go get you some grind boots, get you a hoverboard, and get you a big-ass wrench, and go lombax your way around the damn universe. It's awesome.
And if you have PS Now, one of the free games is the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is interesting. I wish in hindsight I hadn't paid the money for it, just because I started playing it, and Final Fantasy VII is not my favorite of the Final Fantasies, so maybe I don't have the same nostalgia that everyone else has. And I went, this is interesting, but I've already played this before. It's just you've changed how combat is. Evidently, I didn't get far enough into it where there were actually substantial changes to things that went on. But yeah, if you're a huge Final Fantasy fan, a Final Fantasy VII Remake is on there for free on PS Now right now.
Yep.
Now a lot, but which is really cool. PS Now has been killing it with the free games lately. They've been better than the Xbox games with gold. Although games with
last
gold
month was Control. I've been looking forward to playing that one. I got that one downloaded. I haven't started it yet.
Games with gold did do Gears
actually finishing other ones.
Games with gold did do Gears of War 5 last month though, which is a friggin' awesome game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's the fifth one now. Gears of War 5.
Yeah.
Are they still fighting the same fucking bugs?
Yes and no. It's really good, the new Gears game, and it looks gorgeous. It's one of their things that they completely redid a bunch of stuff for the new Xbox launch, and it runs like 4K, 120 frames per second, HDR, Dolby Atmos. It's like the best way to play Gears is on the Xbox right now. You're like, holy crap, this game is gorgeous. It's really good.
The Gears games have always been gorgeous. I still remember playing the original, like when it came out. Like that game was pretty. It's atmospheric. Like they do really good sound editing and sound quality for those games. And yeah, I mean, they replaced the bayonet on their giant machine guns with a chainsaw. It's fucking genius.
Well, and you can get older guns that have bayonets on them still too, but the chainsaw gun is more fun because it's it's
why would you not want a chainsaw?
Right?
You're fighting 300-pound bugs. You want a chainsaw.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. Well, that was my news for this week. Let me toss things over to you, sir.
We got some good news. I'm not going to read the whole Hollywood Reporter article, but it was kind of a cool one where they did an article talking about what they called the resurrection of Kelly Marie Tran on surviving Star Wars bullying, the pressures of representation, and Raya and the Last Dragon. For those that don't know, I mean, if you were under a rock, when Kelly Marie Tran came out as Rose Tycho, or not came out, but was presented as Rose Tycho, the basically first leading woman of color in a Star Wars film, not only did, the JJ fans shit on Rian Johnson's movie, a lot of them very specifically shit on Rose Tycho and hated the character and went kind of fucking crazy on social media to the point where Kelly Marie Tran, whose Instagram was just fantastic, it was literally someone getting their first big break in Hollywood and her loving every minute of it and sharing that joy with the world. I loved her Twitter post. I loved following her on Instagram. There was literally a story of her like sitting in a restaurant listening to a bunch of kids, as they say, representation matters, a bunch of kids in a restaurant that looked like her talking about how awesome the character Rose Tycho was because it was the first time they'd seen themselves in Star Wars, not knowing that Kelly Marie Tran was sitting at the table next to them, like, with a hat on or whatever, so they couldn't tell. And then like she, was basically crying because of all the kind things these people were saying, and she turned and talked to these kids and like had a conversation with them. So like they got to meet the hero of the story that like they'd been, publicly saying how awesome it was. But like she was doing all of that like fun, good stuff and just sharing like her joy of being part of Star Wars, sharing her joy of like, getting a good chunk of the Hollywood experience where it was going well. And then social media just shit on her. Every racist, bigoted prick came out of the woodwork and attacked her on her social media platforms. So she left social media. She deleted her Twitter. She deleted her Instagram. She just pulled away from all of it. And it was really sad because literally all she was doing was sharing the joy she felt being part of Star Wars and enjoying her life as an actress. And so like it was just awful. And they the article has this great part where it talks about let's see here. Kelly Marie Tran's first recording session for Raya and the Last Dragon involved a leap of faith. As the titular warrior princess stood in a booth in Disney Animation's Burbank offices and performed the dialogue, an incantation meant to awaken a mythical creature that could help save the world. The taping went smoothly, but right before the scene wrapped, Tran spoke up and said, "Hey, actually, would you mind if I try something?" She explained to the directors Don Hall and Carlos Lopez Estrada that if she were in Raya's situation, having extended a gesture of friendship only to invite a world-ending betrayal, she would feel a lot more conflicted, almost chagrined at reaching out with no guarantee anyone would respond. They told her to go for it. And then it says, we really need your help, Tran murmurs as Rhea alone in a cave. To be honest, I need your help. I made a mistake. I trusted someone I shouldn't have, and now the world's broken, she said in her trembling words in a near whisper. Lois Estrada says there were 5 or 6 of us in the booth on the other side, and we had tears in our eyes. So she basically took that experience and stuck it in Rhea and used it as part of her voice performance. And apparently it says the final cut features Tran's-owned words. Rhea sees the world in this doe-eyed, idyllic way, and then the world sort of breaks, and it changes the way in which she interacts with the world. She says now, just before the film's March 5th release on theaters and on Disney+, that was the way my way into the character. I've definitely in the past viewed the world through rose-colored glasses, and now I feel like I'm in the back smoking a cigarette saying I've seen things. So yeah, it's sad. Like, this poor girl went through some shit. Like, she's literally an actress that got cast in Star Wars, was loving life, and social media shit on her.
And then saw her role diminish down to 5 minutes of screen time in the next movie.
Yeah.
Because, in part, how much people
Yeah.
shit all over her and her character.
Yeah, which sucks. But she used that, put it in a new fucking Disney movie, and the article goes on and on about a bunch of other stuff, but I'm going to switch over to this EW article because this is the part that I really liked. Disney princess actors welcome Kelly Marie Tran into the fold. There's another warrior princess in the mix. Watch sweet messages from Anika Nani Rose, Ming-Na Wen, Paige O'Hara, and Jodie Benson. And so it says, Kelly Marie Tran received a warm virtual welcome into the Disney princess family during the remote red carpet event for Raya and the Last Dragon. Anika Nani Rose, the voice of Tiana, Paige O'Hara, Belle, Ming-Na Wen, motherfucking Mulan, and Jodie Benson, who is Ariel, recorded messages for Tran that were revealed during the event for the film's premiere on Thursday. And yeah, the one from Ming-Na Wen, like, Kelly Marie Tran, like, almost starts crying. Because Ming-Na Wen said, I'm so happy and excited there's another princess warrior in the mix. And then O'Hara said, the year you were born was the year I started recording Beauty and the Beast. So I want you to prepare yourself for a very, very long, but a very, very happy ride filled with wonderful experiences and thousands of children dressing up to look just like you.
That's awesome.
Because Rhea is a badass warrior princess, and she is a Disney princess. So fuck everybody that didn't like Rose Tycho. Kelly Marie Tran is now a Disney princess, you pricks. She's not going away.
And the movie's supposed to be...
Yeah, and you can't kill Disney princesses. They are a squad of powerful bitches. Like we saw. I mean, what was that last movie where Ralph Breaks the Internet, where they're all hanging out in the room together?
Yeah.
Like, you can't fuck with those girls. They have been around for shit. Cinderella's been around for 100 years now. Those are some strong ass women. They are not to be fucked with. And now there's another warrior princess in the mix. So yeah, it was just so cool to see like the video because yeah, it's all the other princesses like welcoming her to the fold, and just the idea that like Disney's like, okay, so it didn't work out with Star Wars, but nothing that was wrong was Kelly Marie Tran's fault. Like, she's a great actress, she's a lovely person. Okay, let's try something else, and now she's the voice of a Disney princess. Fantastic. I'm still not going to drop $30 on it because I'm sorry I paid for 3 years of Disney Plus. Disney, you can kiss my ass. I'm not giving you another $30 to watch a movie at home on a streaming service I own. But once it is available to watch on Disney Plus for free, I will be watching it.
There you go. I'm in the exact same boat. I said, this looks really cool.
Good.
I want to watch it.
Yeah.
I said, it's not $30 cool enough for me to sit down by myself and watch it. It might be a different story if I had kids and stuff too, and you're talking about having 3 or 4 people sit down and watch the movie, because then $30, you do the math, like, oh, this would be cheaper than going to the theaters even if they are open. But for me, just by myself to watch, $30 is a tough pill to swallow for a rental right now.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, like eventually it's going to be on there for free. Which honestly, yeah, I've been meaning to watch both the Mulans because I haven't watched the original Mulan in forever, and I do love Ming-Na Wen. Ming-Na Wen's badass.
I should note the hypocrisy in what I just said when I'm about to drop $50 on a wrestling pay-per-view tonight to watch by myself.
Especially since occasionally there's a few people that like to put the AEW wrestling pay-per-views up on YouTube, and yeah, sometimes you can just watch the whole fucking thing.
I want to support with my wallet on something.
I would like to support with my wallet, but I work part-time at my new job,
Yeah.
and my wallet is kind of thin right now. It's not. I don't have AEW pay-per-view money right now.
We'll touch on that one more in a second. But speaking of powerful, badass women, before you get to your next story, did you see the set photos that came out of Natalie Portman on set from Thor: Love and Thunder?
I'm not. Are those actually her, or is it just her head on Chris Hemsworth's body? Because like
Right?
those arms
She
look
is so
normal.
jacked in those photos. And I was
looks-
like, she's been working hard.
Yeah, she looks like she's been in the gym with fucking Hemsworth. Like the photos I saw didn't look human. Like it
Yeah.
looked like a Photoshop. I was like, those can't actually be her arms.
I mean, the angle's probably not great and stuff on behind the scenes set photos,
Yeah.
but it's obvious. We've seen how the Marvel machine works for helping people get into shape, and Kumail Nanjiani was the one
I
that
was
kind
gonna
of
say,
said,
yeah, look at Kumail,
Well,
cake boy himself. Like he's still jacked at home eating his desserts. Like,
and
that
bear in
was
mind,
big.
part of what he said is this only happens because you have people that are paid to help you do it, and it's not sustainable forever. But evidently, the Marvel machine continues to work, and maybe Natalie Portman's been working out with Hemsworth because, geez, her arms are huge in that. Which, to be Thor, the lady version of Thor, her arms are also jacked, and she's pretty huge too. She's been putting the work in, and
Yeah.
all the behind the scenes photos we've seen of Thor: Love and Thunder so far look really fun, but I was really excited to see our first glimpse of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster on set in the new one. And damn, she is friggin' ripped.
Yeah, that girl has been in the gym pushing some fucking iron.
And
Like,
she's
big.
now a Marvel superhero, a Star Wars queen. When's she going to get her Disney movie where she gets to be a queen?
Well, you never know.
Yeah, she needs to get the trifecta in now too.
Yeah, because I mean, it's only Ming Na Wen, right? And Ming Na Wen's the only one that's all three.
Star Wars, Marvel, and Disney so far
Yeah,
that I
she's
can
a Disney
think
princess. Yeah, Star Wars assassin, and then a Marvel. I mean, she's the cavalry. Yeah,
cavalry.
she's a superhero.
of. Yeah. What I'm
yeah,
hearing
those-
here
yeah,
is,
her arms are just jacked.
yeah, I saw those photos, and at first I'm like, is
Yeah.
that actually Natalie Portman, or is that like her stunt double? And I don't mean that disparagingly. It's just because
just-
the
it's
last
a
time
big
I'd
change.
seen Natalie Portman,
Yeah.
she was not that jacked. Now, granted, COVID quarantine period, you ain't got much to do besides go to the gym and learn your lines, probably. So at first I thought, is that the stunt person? But then I looked, I'm like, no, that's Natalie Portman. And I was,
yeah, because like at Comic-Con when they handed her the hammer, that was Comic-Con 2 years ago now, right? So like
Yeah.
she's had plenty of time to put on weight and get bigger. So yeah, maybe literally she's just been, on the phone with Chris Hemsworth, like how many chicken breasts do I have to eat each day? How much rice and how much should I be lifting?
well, he did
Because
put,
it looks like that's what she's been doing.
Hemsworth did build an app that was basically the Hemsworth workout, basically.
Yeah.
It was like him guiding people through workouts and like recipes and stuff. Or maybe she went the Hugh Jackman route and called up The Rock and said, hey, I need some help here. Help me plan my my weightlifting.
I wouldn't disbelieve either one because like those photos, like her arms look huge. It's like when fucking Von Damme decided to play Guile in Street Fighter and he added 20 pounds to his arms. It's like, how did your arms get so big?
It's incredible to see how actors transform themselves in that regard. Christian
Yeah.
Bale was notorious for it too, because like he did The Machinist, where he was
Machinist.
tiny and like 80 pounds, and then put on a
Yeah.
ton of muscle for Batman Begins, so much that they said, hey, you might be too ripped for this movie.
Well, yeah, and the director like literally pulled him aside and told him to stop what he was doing on The Machinist because he was literally having like a cup of water with a squeeze of lemon in it a day.
Yeah.
That was his intake. Like he looked like he was going to die.
Those are the
Yeah,
things
they're-
that scare me, and I'm kind of glad
Yeah.
we've gotten to the point now with CGI you potentially don't have to have an actor do that, because we did see Robert Downey Jr. in Endgame when Tony's all emaciated and weird
Yeah.
looking. That's all CGI.
Which
And
is good because if you look at Dallas Buyers Club and what Matthew McConaughey did to his face,
Mhm.
his face has changed permanently because of the weight loss he did for that movie.
Yep.
Because he lost all the fatty tissue under his eyes. And if you look at him in those like Lincoln Navigator commercials and shit now, he has like these hollow pockets under his eyes because of the skin refilled back in and like he looks healthy. But you can tell like there are fat deposits that are never going to go back in his face. Like it's a permanent change of the way he looks, and it was just for weight loss for a role. That's fucking scary.
I mean, and why I brought up that CGI look there is if you're familiar with Jane Foster's story of how she becomes Thor in the comics, Jane
Yeah.
Foster has cancer basically, and every time she transforms into Thor, it basically removes the chemo from her blood and things like that. So the cancer's ravaging through her. she's gotten super jacked to play the Thor side of things. In theory, if they are going the cancer route with Jane, they could use the same kind of CGI and stuff they did like for Robert Downey Jr. and Endgame.
Yeah, if she
to
changed
make her
it back to
look that
Jane,
way.
we'll see her, like with bald and like sunken eye sockets and the thin arms.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and hopefully we only have to see that for like 1 or 2 scenes.
They haven't confirmed.
This is a little creepy.
Yeah, they haven't confirmed that that's the route they're going on that. But based off of them looking at the Jason Aaron arc so much, I think you almost have to go that way. And you could also spin it as some way as the ether left her ill or hurt her or something when it was removed from her. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and then God asked in the chat. Yeah, as far as I know, that's why the Robert Downey Jr.'s face actually changed. Because if you watch his progression,
McConaughey.
Yeah. When you watch his progression of his weight gain after Dallas Buyers Club, his eyes never fill back in because he lost weight for was it True Detective, but he was a drunk and he was kind of crazy. But I remember then after that, he lost even more weight for Dallas Buyers Club. And that was like when he's at the end of the movie and like, it's supposed to be the ravages of AIDS destroying the character's body. McConaughey lost a ton of weight. And from what I've seen of his weight gain past then, like he put the muscle and the body mass back on, but it didn't fill in like the fat pockets in his face. Mm-hmm. We all have, little pockets of fat all over our body. And when you lose that much body mass, your body eats all of your fat reserves. And so it doesn't refill those unless, it's a normal process of rebuilding your body. And with actors, they're going up and down in weight loss and weight gain so fast that your body, doesn't really handle it that well, which is why they have professionals involved and they have nutritionists and stuff to make sure, they're healthy and it's not going to kill them. Right. But at the same time, McConaughey's face is different now. If you look at pictures of him pre-Dallas Buyers Club and post, even at the same body weight, his face looks completely different. And so, he has, I think those like kind of hollow eye sockets he has are never going to go away because of the way he did his weight loss. Yeah. And it was literally something he did for the role. And like, as far as I know, he did it healthy. I didn't hear any warnings where like he was in danger of dying. He wasn't like the machinist, like Christian Bale, where literally doctors told him to stop doing what he was doing. McConaughey, did it in a controlled environment and was safe, supposedly. But it changes your body structure. If you lose that much weight, your body can only, slim down so much to where you're not slimming, your body's eating itself. Yep. Because, if you're not getting any nutrition, your body's going to eat all of its fat storage, and then it's going to eat all your muscle, and then it's just going to keep eating because your body's going to burn calories regardless. So, it's weird. But, he changed the actual structure of his face because of weight loss.
Exactly. Sorry, I took us on a tangent there. I apologize because I know you had more news, but I thought that was worthy of a nice tangent.
Honestly, I finished reading through the Hollywood Reporter article, and I don't know. It's basically just a person bitching that nostalgia has limits. That was like their bottom line catchphrase for the movie review. So I'm not even going to mention the writer and fuck his review. I watched the first half of Coming to America. I rewatched the original. I don't think nostalgia has its limits. I think Eddie Murphy having fun with his friends on camera is a goddamn good time. And if you like the original, I think you'll like the new one. And it hits on a lot of the same beats. That's the whole fucking point of doing a sequel, jackass. Nostalgia's good. Yeah, that's why I love The Force Awakens. You know why? Because it's Star Wars A New Hope with new actors. It's the same fucking story. And I loved it. I'm 43. I like nostalgia, you sons of bitches. I'm fine having Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall playing 4 roles covered in makeup in a barbershop in fucking Queens, New York again. All I needed was that scene. I was good. Like if there was nothing else in the movie, it was just them in the barbershop talking shit, I'd have been fine. But it's out. It's available. It's on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you can go watch the original and you can watch the new sequel. And I love the fact that now both movies are called Coming to America. It's Coming to America and Coming to America. And in the article, the writer even says that that's like not an imaginative title. Are you fucking kidding? It's a perfect title. Unlike the idiots that did Now You See Me and then Now You See Me Too. When we know the fucking sequel should have been called Now You Don't.
I wonder if that reviewer liked the title of Fant Four Stick, as we call it.
The Fant Four Stick? Probably. I bet he loved it.
Sorry, I'm taking a shot there. Just for shits and giggles, but
Poor Josh Trank. Poor Josh Trank.
Hey, man. Movies, not everyone's going to like. Everyone has different tastes, but
Exactly. But I would say if you like the original Coming to America, Go watch the sequel on Amazon Prime. It is. I mean, yeah, I've only seen the first half of it so far, but yeah, it's really funny. And yeah, motherfucking Tracy Morgan, Wesley Snipes. You got more James Earl Jones. I believe one of the actual daughters is played by one of Eddie Murphy's actual daughters,
That's cool.
if I remember correctly. Yeah. So Bella Murphy is in the movie, daughter of Nicole Mitchell Murphy and Eddie Murphy, and she plays, what was her character's name? Yeah, she plays one of the daughters, Oma. So yeah, you're actually seeing one of Eddie Murphy's kids act with him, and it's awesome because the characters get introduced and like you meet the all the new characters in Zamunda. And like when this character comes on the screen, I'm like, oh, that's his actual daughter. Like you can tell from the facial structure. Like it's so cool. You're seeing a little girl Eddie Murphy. And I just want to find out if she ends up as an adult being as funny as her dad. Because how fucking crazy would that be if one of Eddie's kids ends up going the same route as him?
Right.
Like that would be amazing. But yeah. And yeah, I'm going to spoil it. Louis Anderson's in this too. He shows back up. And there's a reason for it, and it's great. And yeah, I mean, it's pure nostalgia in the best possible way. If you need something good and funny to laugh at, something heartfelt to make your day better, go watch Coming to America. I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, fair enough. You heard it here first, and that's on Amazon Prime, correct? So if you're a
Yes.
Prime subscriber, it's part of that. And I'm assuming that typical Amazon wise, you could just purchase a rental of it too if you didn't have Prime. But I'm not sure.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, because I only see it in my Prime menu, so I don't know if like you can rent it if you don't have Prime. I'm assuming you can. I'm betting they'd happily take your $20 or whatever. I have no idea what it is, but yeah, I'm assuming if it's there that of course you could. Because yeah, Amazon's all about your money. That's what they're there for.
I'm trying to do some Googling, but whatever.
Uh-oh.
You guys can check it out
Google
yourselves. I don't have time to do the Googling here. There's too much other stuff going on. Like,
Intriguing.
starting to wrap up the show, because looking at the time, we're at that point. So we wrap things up with a segment called What I'm Into. It's our chance to share with you guys who are watching live or listening at a later date just what kind of geeky and or nerdy things we've been getting into, so that maybe, just maybe, you may want to go check them out yourselves. I'm really boring, so I'll go first because I don't really have a ton. I've been playing Hades on my Switch because, dear God, I love that game, and I understand why it won Game of the Year from a lot of publishers. And I don't normally like roguelike games, and I really like this. I think it's just because there's always story going on. Every time you die, it progresses the story and cool things happen. And there's some elements that carry over between every death. So that's kind of interesting. I have also been keeping up with my wrestling, as we put it, caught up on AEW Dynamite. I will be buying the Revolution pay-per-view this evening, making me a hypocrite when I said I wouldn't buy the Disney movie. I fully realize. But I get like 4.5 hours of wrestling goodness for my $50.
You don't have a tiny child in your house, but you do have an overgrown man-child in your house. So
that's true. That is me.
Wrestling it is.
It'll be a wrestling night. I mean, that card is stacked. Let's just
It is. Yeah, it is a hellaciously good-looking card. And yeah, if I had the money, I would support them. But I'll be honest, I'll be checking out YouTube tomorrow, looking to see if it gets
also
posted.
Exploding barbed wire death match.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, these are the same headphones I've had for a while now, God. They're my Audio Technica 40s.
What else have I been? I don't know what else I've been getting into. It's all kind of just blurred together this last week. It's kind of been just watching dumb crap on TV and playing Hades and just working on stuff around the house. I'm really in a weird state right now with being in pandemic shutdown for like a year at this point in time, almost. So I don't really know what's going on.
Is it March during the pandemic? Always has been.
Right?
It's always been March.
I had to leave the house on Friday for the first time in ages. I was out for like 2 hours because I had to take my car to the dealership for the 6-month maintenance interval, which I had put a whopping 300 miles on my car in that time because I don't go anywhere right now. And I had a recall that was mandatory. And I was like, this is the longest I've been out of the house in forever. And like, I went to the grocery store after that too. And I was like, okay, I'm good. I've exercised I've been outside around people thing for long enough. I'm going to go back in and hide inside. It gave me a great appreciation for those folks that are not afforded the opportunity to basically lock up in the house all the time, because I got a bit anxious just out running quick errands and stuff like that when it wasn't crowded out and there weren't a ton of people around me. I can't imagine being someone that's like working the register at Walmart or Kroger or something like that, where this has been your life of having to deal with asshole people around you who don't want to wear masks or ignore science or things like that. They're dealing with that all the time, and I can't imagine. Like me, I was out for a few hours. And like, I've had enough.
On my state capitol steps, burning masks with their fucking kids.
It's
idiots.
Yeah, I for one am really excited by the fact that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was signed off on by the FDA here in the United States. Will soon be making its rounds, and I am quite looking forward to them shoving a needle in my arm with a vaccine in it. That does not mean everything returns to normal immediately or anytime soon, but as a step back towards normality where I don't have to be as concerned that I get the COVID and give it to someone else, which has always been my primary concern. Or that something terrible would happen because I have bad luck, and that was always a consideration. I'm quite happy after reading up on the vaccines and things like that, that when you go and read the big three that are here in the United States at least, yes, you could still get the coronavirus, but there have been no instances of hospitalization if you have been immunized with it, meaning it is, in comparison to what it could be, a fairly mild case of the coronavirus, it seems like. So I'm looking forward to them shoving a needle in my arm at some point in time with one of those vaccines in it so we can return to normalcy in some way, shape, or form, or something close to it. There's not going to be a going back to what it was before.
No.
And you know what? Some of that's not bad. I kind of hope that masks carry around come flu season, where if someone's got a head cold or something and want to go to the store, put a mask on so that you don't put other people at risk. It's something
I like the
you
Japanese
see a lot.
culture where if you're sick and you go out in public, you wear a mask. Like they consider it, just being concerned for your fellow citizens. If you're sick, why are you not covering your fucking face?
Right. And this is something I hope will carry over, but based off the state I live in, I know won't be the case. But I will tell you all this, is that even, let's say, a year from now, and we're out of the pandemic and we've returned to whatever the new normal is, if I've got a cold or something like that and I've got to go to the store, I'll wear a mask now. I mean, I hadn't really considered it before. Maybe it's because I was just the asshole American who wasn't considering it from other perspectives. But now that we've gone through this and we've kind of educated ourselves a bit more on how that stuff works, yeah, who cares? Okay, look at me a little weird. At least you're not going to get whatever bug I have going to the store or something like that. Because not everyone's afforded the luxury to be like, I feel sick, I can't go to the store.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just looking forward to that. And for if you're someone who's listening to this show who's working in retail or the service industry and you've been going out and working your regular shifts 8-10 hours a day or whatnot around a ton of people, man, my hat's off to you. I had a hard time going out for just a few hours. Not like I'm ready to be inside. My skin feels like it's crawling and I don't know what the hell's going on. And maybe it's something that gets better with time. You get used to if you're having to do it all the time. Kudos to those folks. You guys are doing the work.
And how cool was it that Dolly Parton got vaccinated with the vaccine that she helped fund?
I know, right?
How fucking awesome is that lady? As if she hasn't done enough for humanity already. And speaking of which, she actually got a kind of a surprise cameo in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, and as SP brings up in the chat room, she did wait her turn also, and she made a point of saying that she was going to wait her turn.
Yeah, because if people don't know, she's also like 102. Dolly's been around being awesome for forever. So she is in one of the at-risk age categories.
Well,
I should be getting my appointment next month sometime.
I was happy that my dad should have just gotten the second one shot this last week. But however, my mom, who's 6 months younger than him, still hasn't gotten either of them. Either the first or the follow-up one yet. So it's interesting. And if we go into local politics, it's annoying that the county I live in got punished because they were too good at vaccinating. So they took half our allotment away to give it to counties that weren't doing it as efficiently because their numbers weren't as good.
Lovely.
So we went from getting 1,600 a week to 800 shots a week to give out. The county in which the university, West Virginia University,
isn't that where
resides,
the college is?
Which has, a lot of older people that are professors or work on campus. We've got a bunch of retirement communities here. Now I think they've got most of the senior center folks and things like that. But still,
hopefully.
It was really frustrating from my point of view to read, oh, you're taking half of our allotment away because they've been too good at giving them out to people. And there's other counties that have not been as efficient and their numbers are down.
Yeah, that's shitty.
Kind of bullshit. And then we had people coming from other counties to our county to get their vaccines because they couldn't get them in their own. So I was like, people that live in Monongalia County can't get them, but you're going to give them to people that travel from outside Monongalia County.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, our state politics when it comes to this are crazy, and nobody cares on this show. I apologize. I shouldn't be going down this path, but it's really weird. My hope for is anyone watching this, listening to it, that when you get the chance to go and get the vaccine, go let them shove a needle in your arm. Science, man. Science shows that this is the safest, most effective way for us to begin returning to a state of normalcy again. You know, when we can go to a movie theater and see Black Widow, or we can go to a movie theater and see Doctor Strange, or any of these other movies that should be coming out that we have been pushing off for years at this point in time. Please, 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 just help your fellow man. Go get vaccinated so that we can start cutting this down and start returning to whatever the new normalcy will be. And I'm going to get off my soapbox now and toss things over to you, Bachman, and say what you've been getting into.
Well, as someone that has actual lung damage and breathing problems from my time in the military, I'm actually waiting for the VA to give me my call back because I'm on the list to get my vaccine. Though, of course, they did the 75 and up was the categories of the VA. Apparently, everybody above 75 has gotten theirs.
Awesome.
And they're working on the 65 to 70 group, which is the majority of veterans in the area. And so they're still getting through that group and having trouble, apparently, like just getting them all in because, of course, it's also the question of getting them all into the VA safely because you can't just have 10,000 people show up at the hospital hanging out in a waiting room when they're all the fucking people that are the most at risk, especially the majority of them are veterans. Like, a lot of them are already physically damaged in the fucking first place because they've been through some shit. So yeah, we're waiting for it's 3 categories for the VA. It's 75 and above, 65 to 75, and then 65 and below. Because the 65 to 75 category is so big that it's as big as the 65 and below category. So yeah, we're waiting for that group to be done, and then supposedly I'm going to get the call and I'll get my vaccine. But yeah, they did. Yeah, it was funny. Dolly Parton has a very specific guitar, and that guitar has been released as a cosmetic on the back of Kate Denson in Dead by Daylight because they just did a rockabilly collection of outfits that was released on Friday, I think, which my girlfriend promptly bought because she likes dressing up her chicken nuggies, and that's one of her favorite things is putting costumes on them. And I think she already has more hours in the game than me, but I know she has more cosmetics than me now. It's ridiculous. She buys them all. But yeah, you want to look at cool stuff while you're playing characters, and as a survivor, you get to look at your character. So yeah, they did a rockabilly collection, and yeah, the Kate Denson rockabilly outfit is in the lore of the game. Kate Denson is a guitar player, and they actually give her Dolly's guitar. So like, it's really cool looking because it's a very specific look for an acoustic guitar. But yeah. Dolly Parton's in Dead by Daylight, y'all. Like,
that's
how fucking
awesome.
crazy is that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, we did this week. I completed level 2 of the new tome archive. The archive is the Dead by Daylight version of a battle pass. Level 2 opened up I think it was about 2 Tuesdays ago. And so I've been working on the challenges in that one. There was a couple of them that were kind of a pain in the ass, which I actually tweeted one of them at Behavior. It was literally one where you had to get yourself up off the ground from the dying state, or you had to get somebody else out of the dying state, which can't happen if the killer plays the game normally. In Dead by Daylight, each survivor can be hit twice before they go to the ground. You hit them once, they're injured. You hit them a second time, they fall down. After they fall down as a killer, you pick them up, put them on a hook. You eventually have to hook somebody 3 times to kill them. That's the whole point of the game. So this challenge, where you have to get other people up off the ground, doesn't work unless the killers slug people and walk away. So the killer has to knock somebody down and then leave them. So it was a really annoying challenge because it's basically a challenge designed to say, hey, do you want to play the game normally? Well, don't. Because if you play the game the way you're supposed to, nobody can get this challenge done. And so I've honestly been doing matches as a killer where I've been going in, like knocking the first person down, hooking them, and then after that, because you get the bonus blood points for getting a hook. But then after that, I've been going around and just knocking people down on the ground and then leaving them, just slugging them. Because I know other people trying to do this challenge, it's a giant pain in the ass. So I've literally had matches where I haven't killed anybody. I've just been running around knocking people on the ground and I leave them. Because I know people are having trouble getting this challenge done, and I'm actually trying to be helpful as a killer. But yeah, it's got that one done finally. And then the second to last killer one was a nurse one where you had to teleport and then teleport again and then hit somebody and then do that twice in one match and get 2 double teleport hits, which is very hard to do because you're basically trying to aim where a character's going to go and you can't tell where she's going to land as you teleport forward, and she's the slowest killer in the game. So those 2 challenges combined were basically my last like 3 nights of gameplay. Like that was the things I was working on, but got those done and level 2 is finished. And so this is the first time in a tome where like it feels very balanced, where if I'm playing the game basically every night, every day, like I have the challenges all finished and the level complete, and the new level 3 doesn't open yet. So I literally have everything current on the tome. So it's nice because it feels like they finally hit that balance where like a couple of those challenges were really fucking hard. And I know people are having trouble doing them because I see complaints, on the Reddit and on the Twitter and in the forums for Dead by Daylight. But like the fact that I got them all done and like I'm waiting now for level 3 to open so I can go back and work on old challenges. I can go do other things and work on dailies and other stuff. So like it's awesome. I think like Dead by Daylight's done a really good job. Behavior has finally like found the balance of where they need on the archive and on the tome. The 100,000 other bugs and problems in the game I'm not going to talk about right now, but they're they just put out another patch. There's still some buggy weird shit that they're working on it. So hey, hopefully the upside is it's a game in development that's still making money, so they just keep getting better. They keep fixing stuff. The game's going forward, and also this week they released the hashtag all kill is going to be the new DLC package, which is a new killer, new survivor. It is an actual K-pop star who basically went insane and murdered his K-pop band, and then the survivor is his producer, who like was along for the ride and then realized like things were going crazy. It's a guy called the Trickster who wears like a neon yellow jacket and throws knives, kind of the way the Huntress throws hatchets in the game. And it has like some pretty cool perks, a very weird power where you're using little tiny throwing knives, like they're, like little tiny suckers. And so you have to hit a survivor with like 8 of them before the survivor falls down. So unlike the main attack where he has like a baseball bat with a blade on it, if he hits you with that once, you're hurt. He hits you with that a second time, you fall down. But as he's throwing the knives, like it builds up damage basically. And then if you get away from him before you fall down, like the damage slowly decreases. So it's a very different change to any type of killer build, but it's a kind of version of a Huntress. It's another long range killer that's not all melee. So there's been a whole bunch of complaining online. Some other people like it. A whole bunch of people are really interested in how the character looks, and the character's looks have been described quite a bit on Behavior's tweets and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm actually more interested in the perks on this one. It's a weird aesthetic looking. It's basically like they redid the intro to the gameplay, the main home screen, and it's like a neon alleyway in like a Chinatown setting. And so it's a really cool look, but it's a very different look for Behavior and for Dead by Daylight. So a bunch of people I think are flipping about that because it's just very different looking. It's a very different aesthetic. It's literally a K-pop star as a killer. That doesn't really seem to fit side by side with pseudo Jason and the hillbilly and Bubba and Freddy the way some people think. And so some people are complaining, but hell, I went on, I tried a couple of matches with them, tried a couple matches with the Survivor, had some fun with it. I think people are going to be able to make some cool builds with the new perks because there's some cool abilities. And so it'll be fun to see how that changes the meta of the game. But then, other than that, I watched Outside the Wire, the new Netflix movie with Anthony Mackie in it, where he's like a cyborg over fighting in, I think it's Croatia or somewhere in Russia, or somewhere in what used to be Russia. Kind of a cool movie. It's got some weird concepts about how using AI and using robots in war, and how that can change like the American war machine, and how there could be very good and also very bad if we take the humanity out of war for sending machines to do all the work. And of course it has to do the movie also has to do with a drone pilot, because of course sending drones over and bombing people is kind of a thing a lot of people want to talk about right now. But yeah, pretty solid movie. It was it's very interesting. Some of the things they kick on or they touch on is really cool. Great action sequences. Anthony Mackie, it just looks like this was some of his warm up to stay in shape for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Was he went and did this movie where he's a badass cyborg soldier, and so that was really cool. Trying to think, pretty much that's most of it. And yeah, looking forward to Apex has the new town takeover. Is going to be Caustic's town takeover. Water treatment is turning into caustic treatment. They're doing some big changes to some characters. Some characters got buffed. Some characters got nerfed. Like everything, they're trying to balance, like all games out there. And then, finished. I finally finished Miles, so I'm done with the 2 Spider-Man games. I haven't started my new game plus yet, but I will be because it was fun as fuck. The story in Miles is solid. Even if you just rock through it on easy, it's such a fun game to play. The storyline itself is worth playing because, as we said, Insomniac Games is awesome. They're fantastic. And if you're not aware of that, they just put Ratchet and Clank up on PlayStation for free. So go give it a shot. If you got PlayStation Network, you can go get one of the best platformers ever made, which is their Ratchet and Clank for PlayStation 4, and just enjoy the hell out of some good comedy and a funny-ass Lombax and his little robot friend Clank. And yeah, Insomniac Games is great. So I'm excited to see what they do with the next Spider-Man game. Because we have Spider-Man and we have Miles Morales. I'm wondering if we're going to get a third one. I would shit myself if we got like an Into the Spider-Verse Gwen Stacy game.
I was just about to say that. Give me Spider-Gwen. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Spider-Gwen or Spider-Woman. Don't fucking call her Ghost Spider. I fucking hate that name, and Marvel is wrong about every bullshit reason they give for giving her that name. At one point in the comics, we had 3 people called Spider-Man. Fucking Peter Parker was Spider-Man, Miles Morales was Spider-Man, and fucking Doc Ock was Spider-Man. And yet they're like, oh, well, Gwen can't be Spider-Woman because we already have another character who's retired, raising a baby, and not a current superhero that's called Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? So you're going to call her Ghost Spider. Miles literally turns invisible, but we're going to call Gwen Ghost Spider. Are you fucking kidding me? It was so stupid.
Logic, man. Sometimes it goes out the window.
Sometimes it misses. But yeah, also, if you can see it on camera, there's this nice little spot on my nose where Friday at work, I basically ran into a box. So yeah, I bashed myself in the face with a giant box of tea. Went to go swing it up on a wall, and I was closer to the wall of boxes I had built than I thought. And so as I swung it up, I basically smacked myself right in the face with it. So yeah, so I got a nice little ding on my nose to start my weekend off. But yeah, still enjoying some of the aspects of my job. Still working for UPS, but yeah, even when it's kicking my ass. And hey, I got to work Friday. We've had a low volume after the holidays, so like the last 2 Fridays, people got called out and didn't get to come into work at all. So I'm just happy I got to fucking work on Friday.
There you go.
Yeah, it's still part-time. And hey, UPS was also one of those companies that decided to not wait for Congress, and we all got a pay raise. We had all been hired at $14.50, and now, as far as I know, everybody working at UPS is making $15 an hour or more. So
very nice.
I got a bump to $15 an hour, so I'm definitely happy about that. And yeah, other than that, yeah, just randomly sitting around reading a bunch of comic books. I'm still working my way through the Valiant comics on the Comixology app. I'm now 3 trades into Archer and Armstrong, which these are like the early 2000s relaunch of Valiant that I'm reading. I went through all the Bloodshot trades already. I'm now doing Archer and Armstrong, and they're all on the Comixology app. So like they added like 8 or 9 trades for each book. So eventually I'll get to Eternal Warrior and then Ninjak and Exo Manowar. I'm going to read through all of them. And yeah, they've just been a blast so far. Archer and Armstrong, I had never really given that book like a good look any of the like previous times Valiant had launched. And that book is so fucking funny. Like it's got some weird shit. Right now they're stuck in it's a land called like the Faraway. It's like their version of the Savage Land. And there's a weird ass crazy general from the military named General Redacted, who's this insane guy running a UFO force of little gray aliens and UFOs attacking the Native Americans that were in the Roanoke colony that got shoved into this place like by the Bermuda Triangle. It's so fucking weird. And like it's just full of craziness. But yeah, really fun comic, really enjoyable. And like after having read all the Bloodshot ones, which were ultra violent and super bloody, which of course is Bloodshot. That's how it's supposed to be. This one is like it's such a like a refreshing just comedy take on like crazy superhero adventure type things. It's just a really fun book. So I'm enjoying that, and then just rocking through the Comixology app. If there's any book you've ever wanted to try, I think it's $6-7 a month. The Comixology app gives you access for a month to like it's some ridiculous number like 30,000-40,000 comics, and so. I mean, use your local libraries. Local libraries are great. A lot of people don't realize that most local libraries now have a a graphic novel section in the adult book section and usually in the kids section. So you can go get, graphic novels like Scalped and Sandman, stuff that's written for adults. And you can also go get Spider-Man and Green Lantern and Justice League stuff written for kids. And most libraries now have those. But yeah, if you've got the bucks to spend, try the Comixology app for a month. It's fantastic. I've read so many books this month. It would have cost me, I probably read $500 worth of books already this month. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. And the nice thing is you can turn it back on a few months later when they refresh and add more stuff into the back catalog. You're like,
exactly.
I wanted to read that.
Yeah. And you can borrow because you borrow on the app just like a library one. So you can borrow up to 50 books at a time.
Not bad.
So you can literally borrow a series of like 6 books, download them all, and just sit there and burn through them and then turn them all back in and just go download 6 more. Yeah,
Very
it's a fantastic app.
Well, that being said, we are going to start wrapping this thing up. A friendly reminder, we do stream this show live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central over at www.geeks.live. That is the official streaming home of the Gonna Geek Network. I think we mentioned earlier in the show, if you want to watch more live content, today at 4 p.m. as we record this on March 7th, you can go to geeks.live, catch the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. review of Episode 9, the season finale of WandaVision. They will go into tons more details compared to what we'll get into.
Spoilers.
Yeah, they'll go into the deep spoilers of things with a lot more analysis. We're just like, oh my god, this is so cool. We're at that phase right now. Maybe next week we can deep dive more, but that's the place to go for your deep dives. And friendly reminder, Willie Nelson returns next week for another installment of Unprotected Advice with Willie D. Nelson. If you want advice from the one and only Willie Nelson, our one and only, not the one and only, let me rephrase.
Yeah.
You can send that to me on Twitter, in our Discord channel at the Gonna Geek Discord, any of those places. I will keep it anonymous if folks ask that as well. And Willie will provide his unfiltered advice next week. SP. Damn, I was hoping Willie was caught in some sort of Mexican jail. He's in North Carolina now, so
we don't know.
I mean,
he ain't back yet.
Maybe he got bored and went to Tijuana. Who knows?
We don't know how his weekend's going to turn out. With Willie, you never know how the weekend's going to turn out.
To be fair, I haven't tried texting him because I kind of wanted to save his stories for what happened for when he comes back as show content, because I'm sure there's going to be something absolutely insane and ridiculous that happens.
Let's be honest. Anytime Willie goes off to have a wild weekend, Mexican jail is always an option.
It's true.
You can't 100% say that there's no chance he doesn't end up in a Mexican jail. He might be in a Mexican jail right now. We don't know.
And if he is, SP can come back next week and be like, called it.
There you go. If he is, I think if SP called it, SP has to bail him out.
Nobody got bail money like that. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Mexican jail. Like
we're in a pandemic.
Man, it's like 10,000 pesos. It's like $20.
I mean,
how am I afford that?
How am I going to get past the wall to get there?
The wall you can climb through.
I'm just kidding.
Over?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's as close to a politics joke as we're going to get on this show. I just wanted to make fun of a wall because it made me smile. Is there anything else we had before we shut this thing down? I'm struggling to think of anything.
I think that's it. It is March now, so yeah, we're starting March Amazon Prime off with Coming to America, and we'll be ending March Amazon Prime March 26th, when I will be doing nothing but watching Invincible, motherfuckers. Sure. They released another trailer, and this one I thought was funny. They didn't put with the voice of Michael Dorn. They put a sequence where they show Battle Beast, and it says with the voice of Worf.
Appropriate.
So they referenced him as his character, not as the actor, which I find very strange. How often can one show reference a character from another show in the advertising? I don't remember Star Trek: The Next Generation saying with Sam from Quantum Leap. Like it didn't say that. It said with Scott Bakula.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because I wager that Paramount CBS is not owned in any way, shape, or form by Amazon to make that happen.
Or at least not yet. At least not yet. Yeah, it was when I saw it, I'm like, wait, they didn't say Michael Dorn. They said with the voice of Worf.
That's hilarious.
Like, that is so strange. But yeah, Battle Beast, man. We're getting we're getting animated Battle Beast with the voice of Michael Dorn. I can't wait for y'all motherfuckers to see what Battle Beast is all about. Such a good character. Such a good character.
And as SP points out, Paramount Plus does get the new Halo series.
Oh, yeah, and the new Halo series, yeah.
If you hadn't seen it yet, there were set photos last week that came out of the Warthog on set and some of the guys in not Spartan armor, but just regular trooper armor. It looked pretty cool.
Okay.
The Warthog looked like straight out of the game. I was like, holy shit, that's awesome looking. I mean, probably only gets like a quarter mile per gallon or something like that. But
Yeah, no shit. That is a gas guzzler right there. I remember driving that truck.
Warthog's a sweet vehicle.
It's true, it is.
The question is, what do we get first, the Halo series or Halo Infinite? Halo Infinite was supposed to come out in November, and they delayed it until sometime in 2021.
I got my money on the series. Series dates tend to actually stick better than game dates.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But on that note, I think we are going to shut things down and say thank you so much to everyone that did join us this week. Please come back next week for another installment of the All Things Good and Nerdy show, and we'll get into all sorts of other wacky hijinks and shenanigans. Bye, guys.
Ajinkinins.
Thanks for listening to this brand new episode of the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast. Don't forget, we'll be back next Sunday live at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central over at live.atgnpodcast.com, channel 3 of the Alpha Geek radio app, and over at our network home at gonnageek.com/live. If you have any feedback for the show, please contact us atgnpodcast@gonnageek.com, on our hotline number at 304-806-ATGN, or even better, go to Twitter and send us a message at ATGN Podcast. The music you've heard in this show is produced by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com.